Good day to our respected panelists, research advisor, and to my fellow groupmates. I am here today to present our research study entitled Distance Matters, the effects of possible fewer numbers of tourists per mode of transportation to adhere precautionary measures. We came up with this research title because we are aiming to know the effect of possible fewer numbers of tourists to adhering precautionary measures and to know if distance really matters. When the pandemic COVID-19 starts to spread in our country, the government starts to implement a lot of protocols, especially to the private and public transportation. They limit the passengers per mode of transportation. In Cavite, there are a lot of public and private transportation that serves as mode of transportation for the people. But when the pandemic started to spread, government created a plan to avoid the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, it can be linked to social distancing today. It is practiced to avoid the widespread of the said virus.
Statement of the problem. This study aims to discover the effects of possible fewer number of tourists per mode of transportation due to adhering in precautionary measures. It also aims to know the existing situations that are happening in public and private transportations, and also to identify the benefits and challenges of these protocols to the tourists and respondents as well. This research intends to answer the following. First, demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, gender, location, educational attainment, and marital status. Second, what are the existing situations that are happening in public and private transportations? Third, what are the protocols that are needed to be followed by people to implement social distancing when traveling? Fourth, determine the benefits of the precautionary measures to the bus operators as well as to the tourists. Last, analyze the challenges that the traveler and tourist will face.
Conceptual framework. This figure explains the qualitative conceptual framework that the researchers came up. It has to the variable of tourist arrival, which has a specific objective to know demographic profile of the respondents. Next is to know to how the existing situation affect the modes of transportation, to identify the new protocols to be implemented and its benefits, challenges as well to the tourists and bus operators during the new normal in traveling.
Significance of this study will be undertaken to know the effect of possible fewer number of tourists to adhere safety measures. These people or group of people will benefit from the study. First, community. The study can help them since it can advise them about the effect of fewer numbers of travelers per mode of transportation since most of them are taking public transportation. Second, local travelers. This study can also inform them about the distance that matters nowadays. They intend to meet the locals and sincerely know them better. Third, future researchers. This study can be a valuable guide for prospective researchers who are planning to undertake related studies about their research.
Scope and limitations. This research paper covers the effect of the possible fewer number of the tourists per mode of transportation, and if the distance really matters to them. It is also tackles about the precautionary measures and protocols they are adhering to. This will also about on benefits and challenges that it gives to the participants. Meanwhile, the study will not cover the number of kilometers that the transportation allows per day and the payment of the passengers.
The related literature of the study, Distance Matters, the effects of possible fewer number of tourists per mode of transportation to adhere precautionary measures, is presented to emphasize the importance of the precautionary measures and distancing in every transportation modes nowadays. It is also to discover the effects of probable lesser number of tourists due to the pandemic. Travel is both essential and desire of every people, but it rapidly changed when the pandemic struck the world. Flight cancellations and travel restrictions to public transportations are implemented to lessen the spread of the virus. The frontliners such as doctors, nurses, policemen, and other essential workers find it difficult to adjust to the new normal. It is since the public transportations are only limited at that time. The government also provided the physical distancing guidelines and the proper usage of face masks to also assess the compliance of the passengers and operators.
Research design. Qualitative research design is employed in this study, which helps the researcher to know and to understand their perceptions, since this study aims to know the effect of the possible fewer numbers of tourists to adhere precautionary measures. Research approach. Phenomenological approach will be used to emphasize the experience and perceptions of the respondents. It will also help the researcher to analyze the different experiences of the respondents. Researcher will use virtual conversational interview wherein the respondents are free to share their story on how they adhere precautionary measures.
For Research Locale, Cavite is the chosen locale for this research study. It is province enriched with the historical roots. The researchers will conduct this study in Cavite where in a public transportation are in demand as well.
Participants of the study. The researchers will interview 10 respondents from the private and public transportation, drivers and bus operators along Cavite via virtual interview.
Data collection method. The researchers will gather the needed data and information through virtual interview. The public and private transportation drivers and the bus operators will be the respondents for this study. They will be giving the protocols and precautionary measures that they are adhering to. Also, they will be sharing the benefits and challenges of these protocols to them and to the tourists as well. Data analysis procedure. The researchers will use the narrative analysis to discover the experiences of the bus operators and drivers while implementing the protocols on their trips. Through this method, the needed data will be collected to understand the stories of the participants through the virtual interview and knowing the effects of the possible fewer travelers in the public transportations.
Ethical consideration. The researcher proposed a sample questionnaire that will assure the participants that their answer will automatically use the school criteria. The respondents' confidentiality and the privacy letter are also shown below. It can be assured by the researcher that the data are accurate and precise. It is also guaranteed that the respondents' information will be confidential and kept private.